Lobster Magnet. Lobster's a 10, I told you grab it. Hey everyone, Christmas came early! Yet again, the comic preview guide was completely wrong, and Uber Invasion didn't, chapter 12 didn't come out on, the end of the month of February 28th. It came out this week, and I got to go and read it. For whatever reason, it still isn't available on digital Comixology. So what I'm going to do for this video is I'll feature some terrible video of me just scrolling through the comic, and then I'll switch to like background footage of Nazi video games, since that's the sort of theme I've been going for these. But you know what? Since I've been having such a darn good time with that last video I made of the Sieglinde versus Maria with the Uber, historical narrator newsreel, I'm going to do it again, and I think I'm going to do it for each one of these reviews. So enjoy this little prep as we go into issue 12 of what happened last week, or last issue. Fresh news from the front line! Germany's invading forces are reeling from the death of Battleship Siegfried, the first Nazi battleship to fall in combat. With the deployment of the Allies' Zephyr unit, for the first time the Allies have gained the technological edge in Uber R&D. With all the Zephyrs having perished in combat, America only just beginning to produce more, the USA is still in great danger. Even a basic tank man takes at least a month to produce. Now Germany has a 30-day time limit before the next wave of Zephyrs make their position untenable. With desperation sinking in, Germany plans one final push while they still can. But the United States has plans as well to meet the German threat with a nuclear solution. As the stage of history is set, the invasion of America reaches its climax. What will happen to America? Find out in the latest issue of Uber Invasion. So this was a very sobering issue. Like, basically, we finally get to see the end of, the invasion of America. The invasion of America reaches its distinctive climax, and Colossus II, Razor, finally gets put to the test. And oh man, Kieron Gillen, you did a great job. This was definitely a really kind of somber and depressing issue because, the America plan goes, almost to a hit without a hitch, where, they've got it all set up. Germany's going to basically attack the last place America can continue to make, nuclear bombs, enrich the uranium. And if they blow up this place, then it'll take America a long time and they won't be able to produce nuclear weapons for, a while. So this is kind of like their last hurrah before they basically plan to run away. And, Siegmund is kind of like, he's ragged, his equipment is torn, you can see the wear and tear on him, he's like paranoid about the Zephyrs. Siegmund does not want to die. He's probably the closest, he's a gay Nazi, he's the closest thing we have to like a sympathetic Nazi. Sieglinde, Claudia, is also kind of sympathetic, but, Siegmund is like, we get the sense that he is a guy with regrets, and he is, a man who has pride in Germany, but not necessarily Hitler's Germany. So, despite the fact of all the crimes against humanity he's committed, we can sort of still understand him, which makes his eventual turn halfway through, very well developed and makes sense, and it's, it's really well put together. So basically what happens is, Colossus II is there, he fires, his halo array, and then Siegmund comes in return, and then they have their big clash, but unfortunately, Colossus II isn't quite up to the level. Oh, I wish Kieron Gillen would tell us how, far Colossus II is, because, there's a big thing where we get to see their two Halo effects clash, and the Colossus II is almost big enough, so my guess is he's maybe up to 20 activations. He's maybe a 10-10 build, and he just needed a few more to be a fully activated battleship. He's so close to there. It is obvious that he's beyond a heavy cruiser. So he's just so close, but he gets pushed away. But it seems okay, they're gonna do the plan. They're gonna Colossus is gonna run away. They're gonna nuke Siegfried or Siegmund, and they're gonna nuke the rest of the Nazis and put an end to their war machine. And it's gonna be tragic, but maybe we'll see Siegmund as this gigantic irradiated puddle of human mush as sort of vengeance. But in the middle of it, he grabs, Razor Colossus's arm, and he says, "Defect, defect, I want defect." And then it's like, it's such a sad, great moment where Colossus II is like, you picked a bad time, and then because of the chaos of the moment, because of the fact that they don't speak each other's languages, it's so painful. Colossus II does the heroic right thing. He can't communicate, but he tries to save Siegmund. He does like the most heroic thing he's done in this entire thing, to save the Nazi who wants to defect, but Siegmund, doesn't, just thinks he's attacking him, and he's like, "What the hell, you crazy Yank?" And then the most heartbreaking scene of the entire thing, oh my god, basically, Siegmund shoots his, halo effect on the back of Colossus II and blows off his arm, and the entire time I was like, no! No! Jesus Christ, no! It's like if you're playing an RTS game and you've got like the super unit and it like takes like 2 minutes to produce, and the enemies at your doorsteps, your defenses are holding them back, and if you could just get the super unit on the field, maybe you could survive this assault if all your tech and research. And he was so close, he was like 90% done, but no, he gets destroyed. And I was just like, no! I've been following this guy for like 3 years, his journey to become a battleship, back when he was introduced in Uber, the first run of Uber, in issue 6, and over the course of 20 plus issues, like back in 2014 when I was really starting to follow Uber, I followed this guy's story arc, watching him slowly become a battleship, hoping that like he could become the Great White Hope, and and bring out his battleship prowess and be able to, fight for America. And then in that one panel, it was all gone. It was all gone. And I was just like, literally, I went to I got my comic. Then I went to Burger King and I ordered like a bunch of French toast sticks to consume in my ultimate form of, really cheap luxury as I was, reading the comic. And I was just like, no, how did you do this? He was the only American battleship. Racism, stop the poor African-American battleships. I'm still hoping that, Stephanie comes in and she, sneaks them catalysts so they can get fully activated. Because, oh man, poor African-American battleships. I feel like Kieron Gillen isn't going to be too mean to them, as mean as he was to the Colossus. Because it would be really sad to see those two guys, after everything we've seen them go through, to, see the poor wheelchair kid and his brother, just get demolished and get their limbs popped off. So poor Colossus, his arm is popped off, his back is seared, he's just a nuclear explosion, and he's completely rended down, and his back looks like, fleshy pulp, and you're just like, no, I waited so long, how can you do this? And then Siegmund looks over and he says, "Oh, I understand." So this is the end, and it ends on a somber note with years and years of buildup and waiting for this to happen, to basically disappear. Oh god. So is Razor going to be able to continue the war effort? If we've seen anything, Sieglinde, who's basically in a wheelchair and has half her body burned, and is still capable, implies that, that Razor can still fight. His halo's still pretty strong. But, there's part of me that, complains, he was so close! Was it because, that he couldn't defend himself? That's why the halo effect was so easy? We've seen, higher level, battleships take, big halo effects right to the face and, only get, slightly bruised. Why did it have to, completely destroy it? Answer me, Kieron! Tell me! What was the ratio of the Colossus II activation when he faced, Siegmund? It shouldn't have been that easy to pop that damn arm off! I didn't wait 4 years to see him, just to see his arm get popped off. Oh, so sad. But, it speaks to the character of the war, where, Stephanie sees him at the end, and then she basically says that, we won. But, he's sort of an analogy. And goddamn, Hideki gets to, walk away completely unscathed. I can't believe that, he basically gets to do his, tactics of, hit and run, and nothing bad happens to him. So I guess Kieron has other plans for Hideki, which is unfortunate. I was hoping that would be resolved too. But it was very sad that the Colossus II had to go through that. So, I almost wish there were more pages. Like, I'm really curious what happens to Siegmund. Because obviously he's now defected. What I think is going to happen is, the Americans are basically going to, say that, because of your crimes against humanity, you're going to be executed once this is all over. But you can avoid execution by joining the American army because we need a fully activated battleship to help us. And then he's going to kind of join the Allies and become sort of a good guy. And then, who knows, maybe him and Razor will join forces as the one-armed brother-in-arms and take it to Germany as they raise it for the final arc. Yeah, I'm very curious. Kieron Gillen has said that, he wants to make the story shorter, and it sounds like there's maybe, 6 or 7 issues left. So, obviously, Germany's in a terrible state now. Assumingly, the majority of their forces have been eliminated in the invasion of America. All they have left is, I guess a few... But obviously, they're going to have, some sort of big final project that was hinted at in the first issue, Project Gutenrange. So, we'll have to see what that is. Because the Soviets have battleships. America says that they're going to be building more battleships. They have a battleship killer. They're in ruins. Millions of people have died. But, they are ready for a vengeance, and we'll have to see. I'm hoping that maybe it's, some new Uber in development. In my trashy mind, what I see is, just these guys who have, are flying, and then they have, halo effects in their legs, and they're, rocketing around, and they're just bombarding it. But Kieron Gillen did say that, flying Ubers would break the storytelling of the comic. So he'll probably have something better than that. But, I'm really curious to see if, Siegmund gets a redemption arc where he joins the Allies, and he teams up with Razor, and they're one-armed buddies, yeah, you can go do it, woo! So this definitely ended things on a somber, depressing note. But hey, America's free, and now we get to see what's going on in Germany and what Project Gutenrange is. It could... My feeling is it's going to be a new Uber type that's a suicide Uber that basically detonates and causes a massive explosion. Or who knows, maybe it'll be something else, some other sort of super conventional superpower. Because, the Zephyrs they're basically like the Flash. But, I'm hoping Kieron flexes his creative muscles and gives us, at least one more devastating human superpower before this is over. But, he says that, we're getting towards the end. This is the final year of the war. Oh, man, I don't know if he ever will, but, there's so many spin-offs that I want to see. There's so many things that I want to know. What happened to all the Germans who surrendered? Are they held in, a special penal camp? What can the U.S. do to hold, people like Blitzmensch? Or are they all going to be offered the same deal as Siegfried, where if they fight for the Allies' side, they'll, avoid being executed for their crimes against humanity, and they'll potentially earn a pardon. Just like the Nazis who were, given pardons and allowed to work on Operation Paperclip, where they brought, Nazi rocket scientists so we could beat the Soviets in the space race. Maybe we're going to see, the Uber equivalent of that, where America gets Blitzmensches because of the defected Germans who, now want to be on our side, but still have to fight. But I don't know. What I think is going to happen is, I think we're going to have a scene where there's, a bunch of American battleships, there's a bunch of Soviet battleships, they're all bearing down on Germany, and then Germany unleashes, one final Uber type that, it won't necessarily win them the war, because this isn't sort of an alternate history where the Nazis win, but it'll give one last little gasp, because Kieron says that, by the time this is all over, that, it's just going to be a smeared battlefield and seared cities and dead ash, that it's going to end very sadly and very poorly for everyone. So, one last thing to bring about human misery and sort of reflect about how World War II was the ultimate human misery versus the sort of comic book reality and, with the golden halo of nostalgia that we view it as now. That would seem sort of an appropriate way to end it. Although, personally for me, I want to see Uber Vietnam. I want to see, one crazy idea I had for an Uber sequel is, in the far, far future, there are, there's, this white supremacist group, and they've been, secretly doing tests and breeding, uber-sensitive people in hopes of creating a new generation of, like, Aryans who are all battleship class. And eventually they're, like, building them in secret. They're, like, this evil Aryan militia. And then, they want to take over the U.S. government. They want to bring back Nazi Germany, just like freaking crazy neo-Nazis now do with all their crap. And so what they do is they eventually unleash, their battleships class Nazis in contemporary day, and then they just, cause chaos and havoc, and the U.S. government has to deal with that. That is a sequel I would love. I don't know if it would necessarily be a good sequel. I'm sure Kieron could probably come up with something better, but that's, in my head, canon. That's the trashy thing I'd like to see. But this was a great chapter. I'd say it's definitely 8.5. Very sad and sobering, like much of Uber is. But put a good end and a good little way to finish off the American campaign. And now let's go. Looking forward to going back to Germany and seeing what's up with Sieglinde and how things are going in the motherland now that Germany seems to be in an even worse state than ever before. So we'll see what Project Gutenring is and how Kieron fulfills that ultimate promise. Who knows? Maybe it'll just end with, like, one last German tank man fighting an ally tank man while everyone else is dead, and, like, kind of like the ending of Billy Bat for, all 5 people here who read all of Billy Bat, if you know what I'm talking about. But, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening to me gush about Uber, my favorite comic, favorite piece of anything right now. And, if you are bored and you want to hear me and my buddies sit around and talk about manga and other crap, check out my vlog channel, Lobster Magnet and Friends. There's a link on the top of the sidebar and in the About page, and I'll include one in the description. And remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it. Lobsters made of lights.